Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Auto Accident Attorneys Podcast. I'm your host, Attorney Ali, and the podcast is sponsored by the Auto Accident Attorneys Group, where we take care of you. As you guys have probably figured out by now, even though it is the Auto Accident Attorneys Podcast, it's not all auto accident-based content. A lot of this stuff is, as a girl dad, I give dad advice. I try and provide information direct to consumers that I would have not otherwise known had I not had people in my life. And along those lines, today, we've got one of my oldest friends from the personal injury industry who's no longer in that particular industry and pursuing her passions, my close friend, Diana Garcia.
Hi.
Hi,
Thanks for
Diana.
having me on the pod.
Thank you so much for coming back. And also this handsome boy with you, Mr. Clayton.
Mr. Clayton's busy right now. He's got a toy over there.
I love it. And our regular co-host, Attorney Holly, my sister, Holly Cole. Welcome.
I'm back.
And today's, is it everybody?
Oh, what a darling.
Face.
And we've got Jetterson Salimi with us as well. That's her middle name, unofficially. Today's episode is the reason I invited Diana on, because Diana introduced me to the Lifeline project and a shelter to rescue dogs. And that's how Jetty has become a part of the family. And so I wanted to just open up the conversation for you, Diana, to talk about that journey and what you went down, what you experienced and led you to where you are today, and how that relates to me getting Jetty in my life, because I love being main character.
It's all about you. Always. No. Again, thank you for having me on, especially to discuss a topic that's so near and dear to my heart. And we are bonded forever now, for better or worse. We are bonded forever because of little Jetty over here. And I love the story of how we got to her. So I can't wait to have that dialogue with you and explain to the viewers how that came about.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So this dog that you see right here, this is Clayton. He is 14 years old. I rescued him when he was 2 years old. It was just a normal stroll through PetSmart. I had a dog already, and I was just going to the store to get supplies for her. And there was a rescue organization out in the front of PetSmart. I'm sure everybody kind of knows what that looks like, when they go to the pet store and they see the rescue organization and all these puppies. And so there were a ton of puppies out there. Obviously, they drew the biggest crowd. But then off to a corner in a dark kennel, there was this guy. I'm like, why is he off to the corner all by himself? And, it's the intimidation factor. When he was 2, he was in his prime. He was bulky and muscly, and people like revered him from afar, but there was not a whole lot of interest in him because the puppies were stealing the show. And, something pulled on my heart, but I'm like, I can't have another dog. Like, he's full grown. I don't know about that. I had all these hesitations that most people have. There's a sort of comfort in knowing that you're raising a dog from puppyhood that gives you some sort of element of control. And so I kind of, did away with that pull that I was feeling. But over the course of a couple of days, I kept dreaming about him. And I'm not a dreamer. When I'm sleeping, I'm out cold. So I'm like, okay, something's telling me to check up on this dog. So I called the rescue organization. They're like, oh, sorry, you missed your chance. He's already been taken. I'm like, oh, well, that settles it. I'm just going to go on about my life. And then I get a call a couple of hours later that he's been returned. Apparently, he was too high energy for the family that took him, and they weren't ready for the responsibility. I'm like, I guess I've got to step up now. So I got him, and he came home with me, and I've had him for 12 years, and he's been an absolute godsend.
That's amazing. 12 years together.
12 years. So he's 14, is what's considered geriatric at this point. I mean, I think dogs become seniors at the age of 7, especially the larger breed dogs. Their life expectancy is not very high. So having him, be 14 years old is a real blessing.
That's amazing.
A testament, too, to how much I spoil him with supplements and all the things to keep him healthy.
Oh, you did a beautiful job, because I knew he was older, but I didn't realize he was 14. He's doing great for 14.
Like, quick math, Ali. Like, how good are you on your feet? What is 7 times 14?
Ooh, what's 4 times 7?
28.
So 98 years old?
That's what the equivalent kind of would be to human years. I think they've modified it a little bit to where he might not actually be 98. Maybe he's in his 80s, but he's doing a great job for it.
That is the best looking octogenarian I've. Who was it? Was it De Niro that just recently got me?
Yeah, and had a baby.
Yeah, that's Mr. Clayton over there.
Yeah. I think he's more of a Clint Eastwood though than a Robert De Niro. He
Nice.
he's not so much mobster as much as get off my lawn.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's the story of how Mr. Clayton came about, and then just the I would say the mission behind rescue kind of came over the course of me seeing how differently he was treated than your typical, well-bred designer breed sort of dog. People don't always notice like their underlying bias, but it's absolutely there, and you feel it. And when it's like your child,
Yeah.
I mean, you have real children, so you can tell anytime your child is maybe shunned or maybe treated a little differently, if that's ever happened, it hurts you.
Oh, absolutely.
It hurts you, and you're like, he's sweet. He just wants to be included. Why do people see him as different or as a threat? And that's a common stigma that exists in society towards the pit bull breed. And by and large, the pit bull breed is what exists out there in animal shelters currently. Um, they're at capacity, so many, like these dogs are very irresponsibly bred. Litters are, huge. So when they're unwanted or not given the sort of training and responsibility that, that they deserve, they get surrendered to these shelters. And, yeah, and there's not enough people that know enough about the breed or care enough to kind of alleviate that stress from the shelters. So I faced a lot of, little like micro aggressions, I guess, from people, and they see him, they would move to the other side of the street, kind of,
Really?
yeah, kind of fear for their safety a little bit. But then, you've over the course of years with, the adopt, don't shop movement, you've seen a lot more open-mindedness, a lot more willingness to approach, to adopt, or at the very least to just ask, is he friendly? Can I pet him?
Yeah.
And that's huge. I'm like, of course he is. Like, go for it.
I guess, thinking back, I personally, I wasn't really a dog person, so it was never at the top of my mind, but I didn't have a bias towards pits. But thinking back, I guess most of the media stories that you don't hear, they're not playing what was it, Air Bud?
Right.
They don't have a pit
Yeah.
bull in Air Bud, but then you see like the news piece. They're very much stereotyped, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, it has something to do with like their look too. They give like a cool, intimidating, like sort of
Which is why I really wanted one.
right. So, people with nefarious intents, will use them for harmful things. Animal bedding, is very much still alive in this country and throughout the world. And, because of their sheer strength, which was not what they were originally bred for. Like if you trace their origins back to, Europe, they were actually bred for nanny dogs, like the childcare.
They're the sweetest with kids.
Yeah.
Really?
They're such gentle, not even giants. I mean, he's a big boy, but they're not all big boys. And yeah, I like the velvet hippos.
I learned recently actually that when somewhere down the line they actually crossbred the maybe the English bulldog. I can't remember which, or maybe the Staffordshire Terrier. They crossbred them with rat terriers, which are known for excavating, to get like moles, and like they're diggers, and they just chase after their prey, and so they crossbred the bully breed with those terriers to use them for hunting. So, they would take down like the wild boars, and they would tree like other types of animals and stuff. So that's kind of how the the strength and the prey drive came about.
I see.
But that's not how they began.
That's fascinating. And I did see, you're absolutely right. When we went to, you had posted a picture of a beautiful boy named Pedro.
Sure did.
And I see you brought pictures with.
I have brought
love showing them.
photos. Okay. Yep. So this is Pedro, and he was up for adoption several months ago. And, you of all people reached out. You're like, I'm interested in Pedro. Go from there.
Yeah. You had posted him on social media, and the origin story for, I've never owned an animal. Didn't grow up with pets, didn't have a desire to have a dog in the house. I actually like things to not have dog hair on them. I prefer things that way.
Your chair is covered in dog hair right now, by the way.
Forget the dog hair. I saw the saliva come out. But no, I've completely changed. And the reason I changed was because my youngest daughter, Juliet, that we called Juju, really, really wanted a dog because she wanted to overcome her fear of dogs. She grew up terrified, not just of dogs, of animals in general. Even our neighbors had gotten cats, and she wouldn't go near the cat. And she was working just on her own. She was working through her fear. And she said, this is over a year ago, she said that if I have my own dog, I'll be less afraid of dogs. And I was like, okay. So I used that to my advantage. I was like, you have to do this, you have to do that, prove yourself, prove responsibility, doing all these chores. She did about a year of that, and I never thought it would really come to fruition. She kept asking for an animal. Earlier this year, she was in 3rd grade, and they had an assignment to write a persuasive essay. And the persuasive essay was about why she should have a pet. And when I read that, obviously, I went to law school, I'm an attorney. I want my children to be able to persuade as opposed to just like kick and scream. So when I saw that, immediately I was like, I don't care about my life. She's getting a dog. I have to reward this. So right around that same time was when I saw Pedro on your social media post, and I literally was like, I love this dog.
What a majestic dog, right?
Majestic is such a great way to describe him.
Yeah.
So I reached out to you. You told me where. I didn't know about the Lifeline project at the DeKalb shelter. We drove out there. Tons of animals. I don't want to call them cages. Are they cages?
Cages, kennels, whatever they can put them in at this point.
Every kennel was full. There was an animal in every single kennel. The morning that we were supposed to go, Juju had school. It was Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, she went to school, and when she was walking to the bus stop, she was singing, Pedro, 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 Pe. She was so excited about meeting Pedro. When we finally, after school, I went and picked her up. We went to the shelter. We met Pedro, and we went outside, and we were playing with him. Loved the dog. Amazing temperament, but super high energy and strong. And the idea was that Juju would be responsible for walking the dog. And looking at him, I was like, this dog is going to walk you. Like, amazing pet, not for our household as a first-time animal. She understood. She agreed. We were leaving, and I hear, and Juju is bent down at a kennel at like looking on the bottom row, and we look down and we see this face. It was Jetty, and she was just wagging her tail. She was the only dog that was that excited and happy. So Juju begged to see this dog. We went for a pit.
You were about to leave.
We were on our way out.
Yeah.
We were leaving. She wanted to see this dog. We went outside. We spent about 40 minutes in that little courtyard with Jetty. And I was like, well, I think we're going to have to take this dog home. The way that she was interacting with Juju, I was like, this is your dog.
And the size was perfect. All the elements lined up.
It really did. And now I've got dog hair on me. Got a dog licking my beard.
Now you're a dog dad.
You opened up, genuinely, your post opened up an entirely new world to me. I had an episode last week where I was talking about being a girl dad and how I only ever wanted boys, but having girls taught me so many things about myself I didn't know. Same thing with a dog. Genuinely had no idea. I had gotten warmed up to the idea because we had an in-office dog, Dudson, who you've met before. He's also an old man like Clayton. But, and then because of Juju, it was like, maybe we might have to have one. But your post with Pedro, I'll always remember Pedro for the rest of my life because that's what led to Jetty. And I gotta, because of this, before I forget, I didn't realize, Diana, you brought snacks for Jetty with her name on it that you made yourself this morning.
Oh, yes. So you touched earlier on, career transition and everything. I am enjoying and basking in fun employment right now. And by no means have I really taken a break from, labor, because now I'm volunteering at the shelter. I'm fostering dogs. I'm baking these treats every morning and like putting everything into it. They're all organic. Like the ingredients are so healthy. They're actually delicious if you want to try one for your audience.
I was wondering how they tasted.
So I can eat this dog treat.
Yep. It's an anti-inflammatory. You're going to be the epitome of health after this. It's blueberries, bananas, flaxseed, egg, cinnamon. Like, it's actually quite delicious.
Let me try one.
I saw
I'll do one too.
Let's do it together.
All right, ready?
I taste the flaxseed and the blueberry.
You taste the flaxseed.
Jetty and I are going to be sharing snacks.
So yeah,
I bake these in the morning, and when I go to the shelter, I have, hundreds of treats to give the dogs. And I mean, I'm kind of like, I have an inflated sense of ego right now because my treats have never been refused by a dog. And if you have a dog stamp of approval, then I feel like you've just made it.
Well, Jetty gobbled it up. Now I've had it. That's the first time I've had a dog treat.
I cannot say the same.
Tell me about your first time.
My husband used to do this thing. We lived in a high-rise condo in Midtown, and they would keep a bowl of like the Wish milk bones, little milk bones for all the dogs in the building.
Not a milk bone.
Came home one night, it was a night of drinking, and he walks up and he grabs like a fistful of these milk bones, and he looks at the concierge, and she looks at him smiling, thinking, that's sweet that he's bringing his dog some milk bones. He stares her dead in the eyes and just goes... inhales it. The horrified look on her face. And I was like, well, now I want to know what it tastes like. So I got one too. It's pretty bland.
I can imagine.
Cardboard.
Yeah.
Not like that. That's delicious.
Was that Brian's first time? Or he had done that before? Because that's an aggressive move.
Was it an act of defiance? Like,
I don't know what was going through his head. I hope it was his first time, but he moved like it was not his first time.
oh, the familiarity.
Yeah.
He didn't flinch.
Not at all.
Oh, that is too funny. But yeah, so now I bake these treats. It's a part of like my morning routine. I love it. Like I'm very domesticated right now.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so currently, actually no, let's finish talking about Pedro. So Pedro stayed in the shelter system after you rejected him, Ollie. Oh, just kidding. No. But one of my best friends who does a lot of this work with me, she was obsessed with Pedro from the beginning. She's like, I'm gonna take this dog. So she pulled him out for a few days. She couldn't keep him indefinitely because she has 5 of her own. It's a zoo at her house. But her posts and pictures of him captured the attention of one of her male friends. So he ended up taking Pedro. So Pedro
Girl got posting dogs on social media. You guys are saving lives.
Oh, it's
Truly.
becoming so popular. It's funny, I was thinking about that on the way over here because I saw one of these like, hottie influencer.
Alex Earl.
Alex Earl. Wasn't she's
saw this too.
she's previous like a barstool girl, or she was like friends with Call Her Daddy girl too? right?
She was part of her podcast network.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So I saw that Alex Earl and her boyfriend will take a dog for the day and just like give him the high life, let them sleep in their bed and everything. And it's a whole thing.
Well, good segue into I hope that you're going to show
Oh, absolutely.
the speeches.
Of course. So, the movement definitely kind of started in the West Coast. I feel like to adopt and not shop, it's like they were almost shaming people for buying from breeders, which I do not do. Like, certain families like require like those dogs, and if that's your preference, that's your preference.
Yeah.
But then I would say that the movement kind of, just increased big time when Dave Portnoy, the head of Barstool Sports, El Presidente, caught wind of this poor mama dog at Lifeline Animal Project. She had been overbred. She had that saggy, gross belly skin, and it was just like pitiful. And she was rescued from a hoarding situation. It often happens where these breeders are just so irresponsible, and they'll have all these dogs under terrible conditions, and the authorities are notified, so they go in there and they raid it, and then all these dogs that they pull are taken to the shelter. So Dave was made aware of this dog through his ex-wife, who's actually a big animal rescuer too. And he just couldn't get her out of his head, so he hopped on his private jet, came down to Atlanta, and he saved Miss Peaches. And it started this whole thing. Like, Miss Peaches amassed 1 million followers within maybe like less than a month. And people were just enamored by her story. She's the sweetest thing. He was buying her the most lavish things. He bought her like a Louis Vuitton poncho, a Goyard like bowl like set, and she destroyed everything. Of course, like his Gucci wallet was like in shreds. His Amex was just like, he's like, Miss Peaches. And he would just never get mad at her, and it was just the most endearing thing.
I love that.
And I mean, like, this dog, she was living the life in Miami, getting leftovers from Carbone. She had a home in Nantucket, and you just love to see it, right? So Lifeline invited Dave and Miss Peaches back a year later to their annual Good Human Gala. It's this charity event, that they throw once a year. They invite members of the community. You buy your tickets, you buy a table, and it is just like a free for all of charity. There's silent auctions, all sorts of auctions. I want to say they raised at this event maybe $900,000, close to $1 million. And
Amazing.
Dave wasn't even like the biggest, contributor to it. I mean, I saw like this like old widow lady. You could tell like she just like was just burning through her ex-husband's money. He's like lifting her paddle. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'm like, geez, lady, how much do you have?
Yeah.
But anyways, this is a picture. I was invited to the gala, and you'll see Dave right here and Miss Peaches. I was sitting at the table right next to them, and I was all about Miss Peaches. I didn't even really pay attention to Dave, but that's what he wanted.
That's awesome.
So it was a really great experience, and Miss Peaches has gone on to just be the ambassador for a lot of things. He's really pushing her forward, and all the proceeds made through her site go to animal rescue. His first big check went back to Lifeline, but then he's been supporting other rescue organizations in New York. He just came out with like a seltzer in her name.
Really?
Yeah, like it's got her picture on it. It's like this like lemonade sort of seltzer. So proceeds from that go to animal rescue. She got the keys to the city for Miami from the mayor.
Oh, she really made something of
Like,
herself.
wow, I want to come back as Miss Peaches in my next life.
Everybody does, girl. Everybody does.
Don't get jealous, Jetty. Don't get jealous.
Jenny's living a pretty good life.
So yeah, we've got to give Dave Portnoy a whole lot of credit for what he's done. It's a very like altruistic sort of thing from his end. But yeah, I love to see the influencers really get involved, because it's changing the way that people view these dogs. Because you go, Ali, your experience walking into the shelter, it was sad, wasn't it?
It was heartbreaking. And again, I never wanted a dog. I didn't grow up with dogs. Being there, I felt overwhelmed. I was like, I wish I could take more than one.
It's a very
Especially the little ones.
emotional, yeah, it is an emotional experience, because you don't even know if half of them are going to make it out.
Yeah.
Because, just like fire marshal code, these shelters are subject to capacity restraints, because at a certain point, housing that many dogs becomes inhumane. It's more inhumane than just euthanizing them. So the entire nation is at critical levels. You saw that every single kennel was filled here in this rescue in Georgia, but one of my neighbors, she rescued her dog from San Bernardino in California, and she said there were 6 dogs to a kennel. Same size as those kennels that you saw. 6 dogs to a kennel.
I can't even believe that.
They're fighting for their life. They're fighting for their resources. They're fighting each other just to get the attention, just to get the food. She says it's just a horrific sight to behold. So something has to be done, obviously.
If you're listening, one of the best things you could do with your life, if you're bored, you want to give back, you want to help, you want to find some meaning, go, at a minimum, just go check out the shelter. I'm not going to force anyone to adopt. I can't through video. I don't want to guilt you into it, but at least go and spend some time, and you can foster, right, at these shelters.
Yeah. I was mentioning to Holly before this that you can commit as little or as much as you want to animal welfare. I love Lifeline because they get very, very creative about ways that you can help. So if you want something that's kind of, I don't want to call it low effort. Nothing's low effort,
Right.
but if you want it to be like a one-time thing, but you've got a full-time job, you could always encourage your company to engage in corporate retreats. So I know plenty of business owners, financiers, and like suit and tie kind of guys that will do corporate retreats at the shelter. And once a quarter they'll take their entire teams out there, and they'll clean kennels, they'll walk dogs, they'll prepare goodie bags, and it's just kind of a bonding thing. It's a way to show that corporate responsibility. So you can do that. One of my favorite things to do with Lifeline is the Dog for the Day program, and it's very similar to like checking out a library book, except it's a 4-legged living, breathing dog. You walk in, and Lifeline has already categorized their dogs by low level. So they call it L1. Those are the easy button dogs. They're not strong pullers. They don't show signs of reactivity or anything like that. They're just easy. And so they've got these dogs pulled out already. You go in there, you say you want to do dog for the day. You can flip through the catalog and pick the one you want. They also organize it by, who has not spent time out of the shelter, when the last time was that they went out. So you get to make like an educated decision of like who you want to take out for the day. And there's all sorts of activities you can do. You want to go for a hike? Take the dog with you. You want to go sit at a patio and enjoy some beers, take the dog with you if it's a dog-friendly patio. And then you just bring them back before closing time, and you return with a dog who's decompressed, who's happy, who has met people. You're able to submit notes about their temperament. Do they do well with children? Are they good with males? Do they take treats gently? I mean, there's so much value that you can give to these organizations that frankly are too stressed to focus on those kind of details. They're just trying to keep dogs alive at this point.
And if you go and foster, when you do take them out for the day, you can post on your own social media, right?
1,000%.
And so you can pitch to your own network and really help. But I heard somebody say it takes a village. They weren't talking about dogs, but that concept makes sense. I mean, the more people that share.
Funny you should say it takes a village. I have like this other photo that I really wanted to kind of highlight just about how the community really helps restore your faith in humanity. So Lifeline has a huge, following, like a ton of loyalty. And something happened a few months ago where like their water line broke or something like that, and they weren't able to fill bowls of water for the dogs. So they put out like an SOS on Facebook, and they're like, "We need water, please, send us water." Like thousands of people got on DoorDash and ordered gallons and gallons upon like crates of water. And within a matter of like 30 minutes, they had sufficient water for days.
Wow.
To, supply these animals. So even something like that,
Yeah.
you don't have to take a strange dog into your home and, give it all sorts of investment. Even though I do know people that invest a ton of money into these dogs.
Thank God for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people really can be beautiful.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
Okay. So, when COVID happened, tell me like the first show that the nation kind of binge watched.
The first show when COVID hit that they binge watched.
Yeah. What show like spearheaded like the Netflix binging movement?
I don't know.
Ooh, now I don't know.
I feel like, well, no, I'm not mad at myself because I was completely.
You remember who
Like-
Joe Exotic was?
Oh, that's right. Like, I know Tiger
That's so
King.
funny.
Tiger
You're
King.
absolutely right.
All right, so the way this fits in is
Yeah,
the
I
dog.
can't wait to see you wrap this up.
Right. So the dog that I fostered last, he's a cutie, and this lady, saw him on my social media posts, and she was like, "I want to kind of take over the foster since you can't do it for much, for very long." I'm like, "All right, cool." So she's one of these ladies that, she's diehard about these dogs. Like she wants to invest in their training before, she finds their permanent home because she wants to make it as difficult as possible for whoever adopts the dog to surrender them. She wants them to, be the perfect family dog before it leaves her hands. So she got a trainer for this dog. His name is Kane. Let me show you a picture of Kane. So she got a trainer for Kane, and she allowed me to participate in Kane's first training session. And his trainer is a lady that used to work for Carol Baskin at Big Animal Rescue. You have no idea how much I was dying to ask if Carol Baskin actually killed her husband and fed him to the tiger. But she told me that Carol was like the nicest lady in the world, a little woo-woo, but like, great intentions, like always great with like, the wild cats. She was telling me crazy stories of how they get tigers and lions to obey. She's like, it's the same with any animal, even children. You've just got to distract them with a higher value treat, and that'll get them to obey. And I'm like, wow. She was telling me that she would take big buckets, like Home Depot buckets, and freeze blood in them and almost make like a blood popsicle. and it would distract the tigers enough to where she could go in there and like clean like their whole like habitat and everything and just walk among them because they were busy with their blood popsicle.
It takes a lot of testicular fortitude.
1,000%. And she's tinier than I am, but yes. So she is currently training Kane, this dog that I fostered.
Beautiful dog.
Oh, he's so
baby.
cute. He's so cute. He will not have a problem finding a good home, and he's going to be the best trained dog there is because he learned from somebody who's Tiger King adjacent.
Wow.
Holly, I'm a little sorry that you didn't. Well, I'm not really. You're also a dog owner, but I feel bad that neither Mushi nor Ralphie are here.
Oh, they can't. I'm thinking, can I send my dogs to this trainer? They're the best. They're the absolute best when it comes to people. I swear to God, these are like little humans. When it comes to other dogs, they're so reactive. I'm surprised. So we had the first dog, Mushi. She's half Chihuahua, half Rat Terrier. You're talking about Rat Terriers. And we had her for like a good 5 years before my husband was like, we need a second dog. And she had already exhibited reactive behavior with other dogs. I was like, there's absolutely no way. So we bring in the second dog, and there was definitely a period of time. That was some growing pains. But eventually, like now they're best friends. I don't know what she's been whispering to him, but she's like, no, we hate all dogs in this house. Because there was nothing, like he was fine. He grew up with a litter. We didn't adopt until he was about like 8 months old. So he'd already been around several dogs. And then he goes into our household and she's like, look, in this house, we fight. And now he's worse than she is.
Everyone's a threat.
Everyone's a threat. Everyone on 4 legs is a threat.
I grew up with Jack Russell Terriers, and oh, they're insane. Like, we would take this dog on a walk, and he would, to get to another dog to kill him, he would choke himself. I mean, there were so many times that he like suppressed his own air supply and like fainted.
Oh my
God.
God.
Because he just had to kill.
That's dedication. Those are my
No, I
dogs.
get it.
Yeah.
I get
So
it.
they came in here, and I hate it because there's such small dog stereotypes when we're out on walks. So we talk about being like defensive of your children. We've had people just kind of like scoff and be like, oh, typical small dogs. And I'm like, no, they're the best. They're not like yappy little things. They're just protecting themselves.
Well, you know what? That actually makes me feel better. There's comfort in company, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe it wasn't like, discrimination against just my big bully dog. If all of them are discriminated against, I'm cool.
Yeah. No, it's all.
There's just haters out there.
Yeah.
You're talking about they're just like people. It's a great segue into talking about auto accidents and dogs. They're family members. This one already has a middle name, Jetty Jetterson. Although I don't have a restraint system for her in the car, I've got it where the back seat is essentially her little kennel. So she's super comfortable. If we're in an auto accident, though, she doesn't get a bodily injury claim. She is treated as personal property. So it's just the cost of replacement of the dog and not the injury.
And that's just so crazy to me. And I get it. There has to be, some sort of designation for what counts as what. But, we're at the height of society where, we're invested in not just keeping them alive, but giving them the best quality of care.
Yeah.
We invest in their health insurance. That's a whole thing. And we protect them at all costs. But at the end of the day, they're still designated as property.
Yeah.
And so when they're assessing the value of your property, you're like, no, this dog is, there's no price. There's no replacing this animal for me. It's family.
Right.
Yeah. Do they take that into account as far as like the emotional loss that the person experiences? I understand, okay, you have to designate this animal as property. But as far as your personal recuperation, are they thinking about that?
Well, so the whether it's intentional infliction or negligent infliction of emotional distress, the harm that's being caused must be to a person. So to a loved one. Like the classic example is of a funeral home like dropping a widower's husband's corpse and it like falls out.
Mm-hmm.
So because he's not even alive. If you want to talk about property, I mean, I'd make the argument that that's more property than a living dog,
Yeah.
living animal. But that would be infliction of emotional distress because it was a person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that designation extends to all sorts of legal claims, so the self-defense, you can't, if somebody breaks into your home, threatens your dog, you can't really exert lethal force on them if the threat is to your dog. If it's to yourself or another human, then it passes. And then we talked about medical malpractice at one point, you and I did, didn't we? Where veterinarians are not liable for medical malpractice because dogs are property.
Right.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it scares me.
Wow.
Because you can't ask your dog, like, where did he touch you?
Oh, no.
Sorry.
What's funny is I have a sister, I have 2 daughters, and even my dog is female. I am surrounded by female energy. So I'm like super sensitive to, like, I feel like I'm the only protector.
Yeah.
And even it's a joke, but it's like, where did he touch you? I'm like, oh, no.
It is funny because I feel like half the time we're protecting you.
That's probably really what's going on. But you're protecting me from myself.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful.
I do think it's important, if I could push any message for today, it's about people spending time at the shelter, adopting instead of shopping. One thing that you were talking about, making it super easy for people to go and just spend a day with a dog. Were you telling me that there's a bar close to the shelter?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So it's, Lifeline has 3 shelters in the vicinity. They have one in Chamblee, one in Fulton, and then another one close to the Chamblee. I don't know why they're so close to each other, but that's where they are. But the place where you got Jetty, the Chamblee DeKalb rescue, there's a bar close by called Blue Top. And it's, it's bar food, it's Mexican, it's great. And they have an outdoor patio area, but the dogs are allowed indoor and outdoor. And it's just like a fun, lively experience. You can go with a bunch of your friends. The staff knows the drill. They've got hot dogs ready to go for the pets. And so that's normally like where I'll go with my friends, like, hey, you want to go to the shelter? That's kind of our thing, And so we'll take a dog, each of us will, and then we'll take them to Blue Top. And so I'll show you guys, like, this is a dog that I took. Her name was Skittles. It is now May. So the dog's name is May. And so anyway, so I took Skittles to Blue Top one day, posted all these sweet little photos of her, and it captured the attention of a friend that I had not seen in almost 20 years. it was like a friend that worked retail with me when I was like a teenager.
Wow.
And she sent this photo to her friend who was mourning the loss of her family dog. And this person drove 3 hours from Macon to come meet Skittles and is now like, a prime member of her family, does well with her 3-year-old and 6-year-old. And I mean, the pictures really do wonders, but taking them to these locations really gives you a lot of personal enjoyment, honestly.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I also want to touch on you were saying earlier about how the dogs are categorized, like the
Mhm.
L1 level. I love to hear that because, again, with like reactive dogs, I get really nervous about taking a dog out. I'd love to do that, but I'm like, well, what if the dog's out of control? How do I like handle that?
Yeah.
So hearing that they've already done that kind of work and made a point to highlight the dogs that are going to be like low level.
And obviously you have
Super
to use
helpful.
your judgment too,
Sure.
right? Like consider the amount of stress that the dog's been in, the fact that they've not been exposed to, for example, like cars whizzing by or bicycles whizzing by. Like how are they going to react to that? So it really is our responsibility as humans and caretakers to provide a safe environment for them and kind of prepare for the unexpected.
Right.
Because, uh, uh, so the current foster that I have right now, his name's Ted. He's a senior as well. He's 14 years old. His story's really sad. And if you're
Diana likes older men.
like,
I'm picking up on that.
they're more mature. We're on the same wavelength. This poor dog was surrendered a month ago when his 90-year-old owner had to enter hospice care.
Oh.
And the family just didn't want to deal with the dog. This poor dog that's lived his life in comfort. And so bad part about some humans is they feel so much guilt, surrendering a dog to the shelter that they oftentimes have to justify their reasoning. And they'll submit, some notes that aren't so, friendly or advantageous to the dog. So this dog, Ted, entered the shelter system and immediately declined. He stopped eating. He started self-harming. And he was on death's doorstep. And so they posted about him. I'm like, I got to do something about Ted. So I went and I got him and I saw the notes that, that said that he was not friendly, that he was aggressive and he lunged at people. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll find out. And so I took him and he's he's an angel. He is a little possessive about his toys, but, but
Who isn't?
right. But yeah, so I've had him for 2 weeks and he eats. He loves food. He just has to be in like the right place to do it. His wounds are healing. He's almost ready to be adopted out.
That's
So, I know that they have their designation of L1 and all these things, but if you feel that you are, kind of an experienced dog owner or dog handler, then, an L2 designation or an L3 doesn't mean that a dog is bad. It just means that they're a little more effort.
okay.
So, yeah, but
Do you have
L1
a
of you
picture?
of Ted, of course, I have a picture of Ted.
Gotta see this.
I love that you brought so many pictures. First off,
I brought like every single dog that I have fostered over the last year, I brought a picture of him. So that's Ted. He
Oh.
had to be in the cone because, he kept trying to eat at his wounds, but he's doing good and now he's a little spoiled. He was all crusty, like old man crusty, like on his elbows and his nose. So I give him like nightly coconut oil massages.
Oh, God.
Moisture, and now he loves it. He'll just put his little nose up to me. He's like ready for his coconut oil.
Hey, can I come live with you?
Yeah.
Give me a little nose coconut massage.
So yeah.
I can tell, Diana, that you are going to leave an everlasting impact on the animal world. Maybe, who knows what the future holds, but maybe you can start some sort of coalition where we start lobbying for literal animal rights. And that way, the Auto Accident Attorneys Group can start bringing claims for dogs. We need a new customer
You need
base.
to expand your practice area for sure. I mean, there's a lot to be done legislatively. I think that's going to be the core movement to kind of help defeat what's going on right now nationwide with like the shelters being over capacity. I myself live in a very like up and coming part of the city where there's a lot of young people, apartment complexes, and they want to adopt these dogs, but because of breed restrictions in the apartments, renters insurance won't cover what is deemed an aggressive breed. So that extends to not just the bully breeds, but German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans. And so, they're oftentimes limited in what they can do to help. So changing laws, maybe even, with the insurance companies, like what if you had to like complete a course to prove yourself as a responsible pet owner, kind of like how, if you lose your license because of a DUI, you have to do a defensive driving course to get it back or something,
Right. Some
Um,
sort of certification.
there's ideas out there. We need to put our heads together.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Diana, before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like we didn't touch on that you would be remiss not to share with our viewers?
There's not like one piece of like information or like a fact that needs to be shared. This is a lifelong journey of education and commitment. But, intrinsically, like at that heart kind of level, I just ask everybody to kind of like examine, the state of their lives. Is there something that you're missing? Is your mental health suffering? Like, do you feel alone at times? Like, I would encourage anybody to look outside of themselves and, help those who are less fortunate, whether it's a dog, whether it's, any other kind of organization, a children's organization, a homeless organization, battered women, whatever. Look outside of yourself. And I'll tell you, I mean, it will change your outlook entirely to realize that not only are you blessed, yeah, we all go through like really terrible things, but there's always somebody that you can help. And as a byproduct, it will come back to you in, droves of joy. And so I just encourage people to look outside of themselves.
That is so beautifully said. And it falls in line with our firm's motto of "We take care of you." Everything you're saying is about taking care of others. I love everything that you stand for. I love what you're about. I love the work that you're doing. You're living it. And I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship. And I appreciate what you're doing for animals more than anything else.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please, if you can, adopt and don't shop. If you're not looking for an animal or a new family member, at least go and check out the shelters and foster one. Take a dog out and grab a beer. It's the most fun you could possibly have. I'm not even a dog person and I love them now. But leave comments, share this episode. As always, I'm here to take care of you. You can take care of me by helping people find their way to these podcasts and spreading the information that we're sharing. Until next time, take care, everybody.